Hey everybody, welcome to the Book Fest Fall 2023. Today we are talking to William PopPop Stevenson, who is a children's book author and creator of Ricky's Dream Trip series. And we are going to be talking about why it's important for grandparents to their kids. How are you doing over there, Bill?
I'm doing just great. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. And I see your books behind you. And I have to say, as someone who has read there was 3 stories in one.
Yeah.
Just adore the illustrations of your books.
While I was still working as a tax accountant, I decided to write a book for my grandson because we were too far apart to be with each other. And so I thought I would put something in writing that would involve him and me, and he'd have it for the rest of his life. It was not a commercial enterprise. It was one book. And here's a copy of it. It was a loose leaf book that I printed out of the computer, and I took some pictures from the computer, and I made a little book about it. And the name of the book was Ricky's Dream Trip Through the Solar System. And in that he became the center of attraction, and he had a dream, and I was in the dream. What am I doing here? Oh, I dreamed about you, PopPop. So I said, well, how would you like to go on a trip? And he said, well, where are we going? And to make a long story short, we took a trip through the solar system and visited every planet. And so that was real. And so I had like 3 things that I tried to do. The main reason was to show him that I loved him, because here it is in writing, and will last forever. The other part of it is he had a self-concept problem. And as you know, it's tough being a kid. And what I tried to do was build up his spirit and make him a hero. I mean, where in this world are you a hero? And here he was visiting all the planets and telling people about it. And the other part about it, it's really truth. The planets do exist, and we talked about them. And so he could learn something. And the beauty of it is it could be used in schools, and teachers could put them, if they wanted to, in their lesson plan. But that was it for me. And I had this loose leaf book on my desk when one of my tax clients came in, and we were talking, and he saw this on my desk. He said, "What's that, Bill?" Oh, I said, "That's a book I wrote for my grandson." He said, "Well, you know, I'm leaving CBS, and I just started up a company for self-publishers. Could I see that book?" So he took a look at it, spent a little time. He said, "Bill, you can publish this." I said, "That was not my intent." But he says, "No, I have a great artist for you. His name is Paul Fireman from Fireman Creative in Pittsburgh, and he would love to do something like this. So why don't we give it a try? You can retain him, and if he likes it, it really will be a great book." Well, it turns out that Paul Fireman loved the stories just like you enjoyed the ones that you read from that one book, and he became like a little brother to me. And with his artwork, as you saw from the other book, he breathed life into the story. And so the book came out, and people really enjoyed it. And wow, I was really surprised and pleased. So I said, well, I can't call myself an author. I only wrote one book. You have to write more than one book if you're going to call yourself an author. So
Yeah.
I said, let me take a crack at another one. And at the time, I was doing a lot of reading about American history. A book on George Washington had come out. Alexander Hamilton, a story came out, and several other. And I was excited about it, about the period. So I decided, well, let's do a dream trip where we go to Philadelphia and Independence Hall, where they wrote the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence was being written at the time, and they went into Independence Hall and they met John Adams, who wasn't going to let him in. Who are you? You can't come in here. And they said, well, this is my dream, and this is my grandfather, PopPop, and you are my dream, so I should be able to come in. Oh, okay. So they came in and uh, uh, became part of the discussion of whether or not the Declaration of Independence should be signed. And I'll let you read about that part. And in any event,
Yeah. Don't give any spoilers. They need to read the books.
Right. Well, the little secret was Independence, Declaration of Independence was signed. I guess you know that.
Yeah.
Only
I'm
kidding.
sure they enjoy it. 4th of July every single year, right?
Yeah. So anyway, at the end of the session, John Adams said, well, thank you for coming, and would you like to say something? And Ricky said, well, I'm only a little boy, but I could play something on my guitar and sing a song that my grandfather PopPop taught me. And they said, sure, go right ahead. It turns out that Ricky was a child prodigy on the guitar. In any event, he sang Blowing in the Wind, which was a perfect song for that period of freedom. And so anyway, the book was printed, and Paul Fireman did a fantastic job, and people loved it, and it inspired me more. Now, don't forget, I'm still working full time. You know, I had writer's block all the time, and I'm under stress from my business, and it took me months to do some of them. But in any event, the one when it came out, people loved it. So that's when I decided that I would make a series, and the book that you read were 3 separate books that were put into one, and it was about ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, and ancient Rome. Now, so when I tackled the first one, ancient Egypt, here I am. I want to pull out a vignette that the kids would enjoy, and they could use in school if they wanted to, but it couldn't be a big deal. It's only a little book. But the Egyptian history was 6,000 years old. I said, what am I going to do here? So I really studied. I should have gotten another doctorate for studying about Egypt. And all of a sudden, what pops up is Tutankhamun. Well, that was perfect. He's around Ricky's age, and boy king, and the kids could relate to it. And so, as you know, they were introduced to each other, and I had to figure out a way of getting the kids interested in the book in Egypt, but not directly. So how am I going to do that? So I decided that, as you know from reading it, he couldn't find his cat. And the thing that the kids will learn in school, that Egyptians love their cats. and they mummified them for thousands of years. And so anyway, they, as you know, they couldn't find the cat, and they were going to go home, and King Tutankhamun took them to the stable where their dream horses were. And who's in the stable? But the cat is there. And not only is the cat there, but she had kittens. I mean, how can you beat that? Everybody loved that.
She had to hide
that part of the story.
Yeah, she had to hide away. It was, and I loved the entire series. I think they're very comprehensive and together. And I don't want everyone to hear about every single one of them because they have to go read them. And I don't want to steal away too much of the beauty of those stories for all the readers. But I do want to hit on the fact that you started these stories when Ricky was 7, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And you told me
up till he was about 12.
And you told me before we started going live here that he just graduated college. Is that correct?
That's correct. But the books are for children up to like 12 years old. The next book, if I get to do one, I'm going to do one when at his age now. But that's a ways to go.
Beautiful. And I think it's beautiful because he could now transcend that onto his children whenever he gets, because it's such a legacy that he could take on with him. And I know that that's something that he took into his high school years, his college years, into manhood, and that he can share with his children one day. And it's so important, not only for literacy, but also that bond that you said you shared with him. It's a beautiful series. I read it, I reviewed it, I fell in love with the characters, the illustrations. It's such an important role grandparents have. And I love your spirit, Bill. And this series are things that our kids need to be learning in school, but this is such a fun way to learn it as well. So I want to thank everyone who joined us today for the Book Festival 2023, presented by Books That Make You and the Black Chateau Enterprises. We hope you enjoy the rest of the programming during this free online bookish adventure.